A guy exploring an old funeral home in Georgia found over 30 boxes of human ashes, untouched since a fire shut the place down months ago. And now the owner is missing. In New Hampshire, someone came across a decaying shed near a prison and found the skeleton of a convicted man who'd been on the run. And in Texas, a woman who'd been missing for years was finally found wedged between two walls in an abandoned house. These are disturbing discoveries recently found in abandoned buildings. Photographer Ben James was exploring the burned out remains of the Norman Medford Pedden Funeral Home in Marietta, Georgia, when he came across something he wasn't prepared for: over 30 boxes of cremated human remains, along with a preserved fetus. The building had been closed since a fire gutted it, and nobody expected stuff like this to be inside. "I had no idea there were so many boxes of ashes," James said. "I'm used to a few per place, but this was over 30 boxes. Seeing the human fetus was quite surreal, but that is the way of these places. You never know what you'll find," he continued. After James posted his photos online, someone recognized the funeral home and tipped off the police. That's when this turned into a full-blown investigation involving 6 different agencies. "There are boxes, there are folders, file drawers," said Officer Chuck McPhillamy of Marietta PD. James also says he found bank statements and death certificates showing that people had paid for proper burials. He added, "As far as I know, when it was closed, it was deemed that nothing was inside, so it was a lie, and they were embarrassed they were found out." The funeral home's owner is reportedly missing too, and authorities are now trying to locate the families and figure out if any laws were broken. This past April, someone exploring a rundown shed near a New Hampshire state prison made a pretty disturbing find: skeletal human remains. It didn't take long for investigators to identify the body though. It was Michael Schultz, a registered SA offender who'd once been named Fugitive of the Week. Schultz had a long criminal history and was well known to law enforcement in the area, but no one had expected to find him dead in an abandoned shed. The shed itself had already creeped out some folks in the neighborhood, sitting empty and decaying just a stone's throw from the prison, covered in graffiti and surrounded by overgrown brush. As for what happened to the guy, they still don't know. There's no obvious trauma. Police haven't said whether foul play is suspected, and so far no one's been arrested or named in connection with the case. What is known is that Schultz had been missing for a while before his remains turned up. In July of 2024, a horrifying discovery was made inside an abandoned home in Harris County, Texas: the decomposed body of a woman named Mary Shepard. She'd been missing for years and was found trapped between 2 walls. Investigators think she likely fell through the attic and got stuck in the narrow space where no one can hear her or reach her. Awful. The house had been vacant for a long time, and it isn't clear how many people had passed through it without realizing someone was still inside. Because of how decomposed the body was, police weren't able to tell exactly when she died, but they did confirm she'd been reported missing years earlier. The discovery was completely accidental. Someone was exploring the abandoned house and noticed a nasty smell, so they phoned the police. No foul play is suspected at this point. Based on where she was found and the layout of the house, it looks like it was just a freak accident. In September of 2024, a tow truck driver discovered something pretty unsettling in Rocky View County, Alberta. While checking out an abandoned utility trailer, the driver noticed something was off. Once police arrived and took a closer look, they confirmed what he suspected. There were human remains inside. The remains are believed to belong to a woman. As of this recording though, they haven't confirmed her identity. The trailer was old and beat up, just sitting there by the side of the road. There were no license plates, no registration, no indication of who it belonged to. The RCMP immediately launched an investigation. Forensics teams were brought in to examine the scene, and the body was taken to the medical examiner. But the remains were pretty decomposed. They aren't sure exactly how long they'd been in there. The trailer wasn't near any homes, so the way it was just abandoned in the middle of nowhere does make this look rather suspicious. In early January of 2024, things got wild at the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, when construction workers showed up to fill in a tunnel, only to be met by yeshiva students who really didn't want that to happen. Well, it turns out these students had secretly dug a 60-foot tunnel under the building in order to expand the synagogue. They said they were just carrying out a long-delayed project, but police didn't see it that way. The tunnel was illegal, and connected to 4 other nearby buildings. It was also just not built very well. The fire department had received an anonymous tip, and when the cement truck rolled in to fill it, a group of young men reportedly ran into the tunnel to stop it from being sealed. Others were ripping up paneling and tossing pews. Police were called in, and by the end of it, 12 people were arrested, most of them between 19 and 22 years old. The tunnel was filled with concrete a couple days later, and several surrounding buildings had to be evacuated because of safety concerns. In the middle of the Scottish Highlands, an urban explorer named Chloe Urbix found something you'd only expect to find in a horror movie. A crumbling old mortuary, hidden deep in the woods. Perfect spot for Jason Voorhees, or I guess the Scottish version of Jason Mick Voorhees, to come running at you with an axe. Alright, get out my mortuary, I'll bury the sacks in your wee head. The place had clearly been forgotten for years. Inside there were rotting coffins, rusty body storage lockers, and a chapel so thick with cobwebs you'd think it was staged for a Halloween set. I mean, my god. Just look at these photos. The floor was covered in moss and the walls were stained and cracking. Every corner felt like it had a story that you probably wouldn't want to hear. Nobody is really sure when it was abandoned or why, but it looks like it was just left to rot. Definitely not the kind of place you want to end up in after dark. In East Lothian, Scotland, there's an abandoned hospital that's become a magnet for urban explorers. It was originally opened in the early 1900s, used as a tuberculosis sanatorium before being converted into a military hospital during the Second World War. After the war, it continued as a hospital before finally being shut down. What's left behind is pretty eerie. Rusted hospital beds, broken wheelchairs, smashed equipment, and entire wings overtaken by nature and rot. And then there's this piece of graffiti on one wall in thick black paint that reads, "The dead still dance." And honestly, in a place like this, I wouldn't be too surprised. Explorers have found children's toys scattered around too. That'll never not be creepy. Some visitors have reported feeling dizzy or disoriented in certain parts of the building, and few have claimed they've heard footsteps or whispers. Legend has it the hospital is haunted by former patients who died there, especially during the tuberculosis outbreaks. A former school in Illinois, now turned into an apartment complex, has gone viral for all the wrong reasons. Ain't that often the case though. The real estate listing looked normal until folks online zoomed in on a photo of one of the basement laundry rooms. In the corner, what looked like a red splatter on the floor. Add in the peeling walls and an old door with a creepy lock and some frayed cords, it's the perfect recipe for a haunted Reddit thread. People joked that it looked like a crime scene or the set of Stranger Things. Others said it was just paint. Let's be honest, the vibe is pretty off here. Still, if you look past the horror movie aesthetic, the building is actually a solid investment. 56 bedrooms, 24 bathrooms, and nearly 29,000 square feet for just over $1 million. Do gotta wonder though, why would it sell for that low? In July of 2024, some kids were out playing on Memorial Drive in Avon Park, Florida, and when they wandered into an old abandoned house. One of these rundown places that everyone in the neighborhood probably knows to stay away from. I'm gonna guess these people dared each other to go inside. While inside they found something just a little disturbing. Only a human skeleton, just laying there. The Highland County Sheriff's Office confirmed it was real and said the remains had probably been there for over a year. So someone died in that house and nobody even noticed for at least 12 months, maybe longer. Investigators believe the person might have been using the place for shelter. So far, there's no ID, no clear cause of death. The body had decayed so much, though, that they had to send everything to the medical examiner to try and piece it together. In early 2024, a construction worker doing a walkthrough in an old building in Queens, New York, found yet another human skeleton in the basement. The place had been abandoned for years, but it wasn't completely off the city's radar. A few months earlier, it had actually received a violation notice that mentioned some concerning conditions. At the time, nobody realized how serious things really were. The worker who found the remains had just gone down to check the basement before some kind of renovation was supposed to start. Instead, he found human bones. Fun. NYPD was called in immediately, and forensics started trying to figure out who the person was. So far, they don't know. In a city with millions of people, it is crazy to think how someone can disappear like this die in an empty building and go unnoticed for who knows how long. With all that said, I've been your host James, and I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.